ARPANET had to allow each machine on the network to reproduce and relay the information sent by any other. A network in which peers shared resources equally was part of a massive shift from the corporate and commercial communication systems of the past, in which messages radiated from a central point or down through a hierarchy. There was no center, and no machine was more important than another. Anyone could join the network, provided they agreed to abide by the rules or protocols on which it operated.
Ever since really the 60s onwards, packet switched networks are the predominant style of communications used today, increasingly so in both voice and data.
The Western world was transforming itself from the rigid production systems of Fordism to fluid work, lean production, and just-in-time delivery.
It's a wonderful age on a beautiful stage demonstrated for you, been created for you. It's just a part of the thrilling start of Century 21.
A post-centralized, friction-free economy needed a communications system just like this.
We didn't build in the 1970s networks of hierarchs. The computers that existed in the world were all multi-million-dollar machines, and they basically interrelated to one another in very equal ways.
One of the really important characteristics of the Internet is that it's extremely decentralized, and that the services on the Internet are invented and operated by other network users.
The network is built so that there's nobody in charge, that everybody has control over their own communications.
In relying on the Internet, society was bringing into its very center a machine whose primary function was the reproduction and distribution of information.
It's an inherent function of the networks that we use today that this data is stored and copied, normally transient, normally very fast, in milliseconds, microseconds. Specialized pieces of equipment such as switches, routers, hubs, etc. do this all in the blink of an eye. But it's the way networks work.
What ARPA's engineers had produced was the blueprint for a massive copying machine without master, which would grow at a fantastic rate into today's Internet.
So this entire area is bristling with information transfer of one type or another. For instance, the local council, Tower Hamlets and Hackney, we're sort of on the border here, have some of the surveillance traffic and security cameras linked via wireless networks themselves. The spectrum environment is getting very dirty or noisy. Every single packet that flies through the multitude of wireless networks and through the Internet is listened for, stored in memory, and retransmitted, i.e. it's copied from one what's called network segment to the next. Now, our media environment now, our media ecosphere now is so broad, so large, that you cannot contain information very easily anymore. You cannot stop or censor information or stop the transmission once it's out there. It's like water through your hands. It's like trying to stop a dam from bursting. I would say right now we are likely in range of wireless microwave radio transmissions that are most likely breaching some sort of copyright law right at this moment.
To try in the back of modernism and all this international law to make profit out of his own ungenerosity to humankind.
One of the main battlegrounds in law, in technology now, is the extent to which it is possible to exclude people from information, knowledge, and cultural goods. The extent to which it's possible to enclose a bit, if you will, of culture and say, it's in a container, you have to pay me in order to access it.
you can make something property if you can build a fence for it. You can enclose something if you can build a wall around it. In the American West, the rangeland was free and all could graze it because it was too expensive to fence it. Barbed wire changed that, and you could turn it into property.
Culture came in these boxes.
Control came naturally as part of the process of the existence of the medium itself.
There's a thing, a book, a record, a film, that you can hold on to and not give somebody else, or you can give it to them. And the whole payment system was built around, do I give you this unit of information or don't I give it to you? And that was how the whole model of copyright was built from the book on up.
What used to be property, music, cinema, now becomes very, very easy to transmit across barriers.
We have today the ability to make copies and distribute copies inexpensively. If one copy leaks out on the internet, very rapidly it's available to everyone.
One can always try to create artificial boundaries, technological boundaries, which prevent us from sharing files, prevent us from sharing music, etc. But how do you create a wall or a boundary against the very basic desire of sharing?
I think the war on piracy is failing for social reasons. People like to communicate. People like to share things. People like to transform things. And technology makes it so easy that there's no way of stopping it.
The new generation is just copying stuff out of the internet. It's the way they were brought up. They started with Napster or whatever. Music is free to them. They don't consider music being something you pay for. They pay for clothes, they pay for stuff they can touch. Intellectual property is, what the fuck is that?
I've never bought a piece of music in my life.
We don't think it's illegal because everyone's doing it. We can't really be blamed for just downloading something that's already on the internet.
Well, people think it's legal because it's like copying without the copyright or something.
If it's a crime, why put it on there?
So whether you're using a sort of long lost peer-to-peer system like the original Napster or you're using Nutella